The story begins with twin sisters who were conjoined from birth. They shared the same body, never apart for a single moment, eating, sleeping, and enduring a difficult childhood together. But as they grew older and started to experience love, tragedy began to unfold. Both fell in love with a man named Atai. Although the twins had identical faces, Atai chose the elder sister, Molly. Sannin, the younger one, could not accept this reality. She was hurt, jealous, and heartbroken watching Molly and Atai grow closer, even secretly dating at night. At first, Sannin tried to endure it, but the bottled-up emotions eventually overwhelmed her. The breaking point came when Atai was about to study abroad. Molly wanted to see him off one last time, but Sannin firmly refused. Despite Molly's pleading, Sannin coldly denied her request. Unable to wait for the one he loved, Atai left in sorrow. Deeply hurt, Molly asked her mother for permission to undergo a separation surgery. Upon learning this, Sannin was completely devastated. She had lost love, and now her own sister wanted to abandon her. In despair, she attempted suicide by overdosing on pills. Luckily, Molly found her in time and saved her life. For reasons unknown, Sannin later agreed to the surgery. However, a tragic complication occurred during the operation. Sannin died on the table. Years later, Molly married Atai and the two settled in South Korea. On her birthday, a friend read her fortune and said, "Something long lost will return to you." Molly tried to stay calm, but unease filled her heart. That night, Atai received a call from Thailand. Molly's mother had fallen seriously ill. Though reluctant to return, Molly went back with Atai out of filial duty. Her mother was in a coma and required urgent surgery. With no other option, Molly brought Atai back to her old family home. The house remained unchanged. Seeing an old photo of herself with Sannin brought a lump to her throat. Late that night, after showering, Molly noticed a familiar symbol on the bathroom mirror, the sisterhood emblem that Sannin had loved. Startled, she wiped it away and hurried to bed. But as soon as she lay down, a chilling sensation crept over her. When she turned around, Sannin was gone, only an empty body pillow remained. The next morning, her mother was still comatose. The maid appeared frightened, claiming the old woman often locked herself in and talked to someone invisible. On the way to the hospital, Molly spilled coffee on herself and suddenly felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Her old surgical scar was bleeding. She screamed in panic. After her mother's successful surgery, Molly returned home, only to find her beloved dog barking furiously at the mirror. When she looked into it, a terrifying face appeared, causing her to fall down the stairs. Waking up in the hospital, she saw another bizarre reflection in the restroom mirror. She told Atai that Sannin's spirit had returned to avenge her wrongful death. But Atai didn't believe her. He assumed it was a psychological issue and invited a doctor for help. Enraged, Molly argued with him and left. In a daze, she accidentally ran over her dog. Devastated, she agreed to therapy and told the doctor about her childhood, how the twins shared everything and were once seen as monsters because of their conjoined body. Her younger sister had always protected them both. The doctor concluded that Molly was suffering from severe trauma and hallucinations. Leaving the old house might be her only hope of recovery. However, with her mother still needing care, they couldn't leave Thailand yet. To relieve her stress, Molly went to the beach. On her way back, she noticed strange footprints on the ground, as if they belonged to Sannin's ghost. Upon arriving home, she was horrified to see someone identical to herself sitting beside Atai. That night, as she turned on the fan and lay down, she saw pale legs floating above her. On the ceiling, Sannin's blood-streaked face stared down, and Molly fainted in terror. The next day, Atai consulted the doctor again, who still insisted it was psychological. But later, while at home, Atai accidentally glimpsed two figures in the reflection, yet only Molly stood there when he turned. Though suspicious, he remained silent and quietly arranged for Molly's mother to be transferred to a hospital in South Korea. She lay on the hospital bed, mumbling as if trying to say something to Atai, but the words just wouldn't come out. Meanwhile, Molly was taking a bath inside the house. She gently ran her fingers over the scar on her stomach, lost in thought about the strange events that had happened recently. Suddenly, a ghostly hand reached up from beneath the water and dragged her down into the bathtub. Molly struggled desperately to escape. Luckily, she managed to grab the shower curtain beside her and pulled herself up with all her strength, narrowly escaping the danger. But the nightmare was far from over. In the days that followed, Molly kept seeing glimpses of her sister's shadow everywhere she went. She could only keep telling herself that it was all just an illusion, and strangely enough, this seemed to work. Her sister's spirit no longer appeared. When Atai returned home, he told her that the Korean hospital had completed the admission process and they could take her mother there at any time. However, that night, a sudden gust of wind blew through the window, knocking everything over in the house. As Atai crawled under the bed to pick up some fallen items, he suddenly felt the mattress above him being pressed down, as if someone was sitting on it. He panicked and backed away. The room was completely empty, except for him. Rushing to pull back the blanket, Atai found a torn painting underneath. It was the portrait he had drawn for Molly before he went abroad, a personal piece created just for her. But Molly's sister, out of jealousy, had ripped it to shreds as soon as she saw it. After that incident, Molly, furious, insisted on undergoing surgery to be separated from her sister. That decision ultimately led to the medical accident that followed. Upon hearing this, Atai felt overwhelmed with guilt. So it turned out that the rift between the two sisters had something to do with him all along. But was that really the whole truth? Sannin's spirit would not let go. On the subway, strangers refused to sit beside Molly, as if someone invisible was already there. On the verge of collapse, she rushed home and burned all of Sannin's keepsakes. But while packing, Sannin's ghostly face appeared, terrifying her into fleeing into the pouring rain. She got in the car, determined to leave forever. But just as she inserted the key, her sister's ghost appeared right in front of her. She tried to crawl out of the car and looked up. Seeing Atai, she rushed toward him. But almost immediately, she felt something strange coming from her stomach. When she looked down, she was shocked to see that part of her body seemed to be fused with someone else. When Atai returned home, he was shocked to find his wife unconscious on the floor. He immediately rushed her to the hospital, then stormed into her mother's room to demand an urgent transfer. At that moment, Molly's mother, who had just come out of a coma, suddenly grabbed Atai's hand and revealed a long-hidden secret. The one who actually died during the surgery years ago wasn't Sannin, but Molly. Out of jealousy that Atai loved her sister, Sannin had killed Molly with her own hands. To cover up the horrifying truth, their mother was forced to lie and claim that Molly died from surgical complications. Since then, Sannin had assumed her sister's identity, living as Molly and stealing her love with Atai. Atai was devastated. He rushed to the cemetery to verify the truth, and there, etched into the gravestone, was the name Molly. The woman he had lived with all these years was, in fact, his wife's younger sister. He hurried back home to confront her. But before he could speak, Sannin embraced him, pretending to mourn their parents' deaths. Atai, no longer deceived, questioned her coldly. If my mother-in-law just woke up and spoke to me, how could she have suddenly died? Realizing she'd been found out, Sannin dropped the act. She admitted to removing her mother's oxygen tube to silence her. She confessed everything, the lies, the stolen identity, and the love she never truly had. Enraged, Atai tore the necklace, Molly's keepsake, from her neck and declared she didn't deserve to wear it. As he turned to leave, Sannin struck him over the head with a vase, knocking him unconscious. When Atai awoke, he was tied to a chair. In front of him stood Sannin, now wearing glasses, her old signature look, her face cold and bitter. In a crazed voice, she demanded, "Why did you choose Molly and not me? If you had chosen me back then, none of this would have happened." She then injected him with a painful drug. As she turned away momentarily, Atai managed to break free and push her to the ground. Just then, the doorbell rang. "I forgot my phone. Wait here, I'll go get it for you." But when she returned, Atai was gone. To lure him out, she lit a match and threatened, "If you don't come out in 3 seconds, I'll burn this whole house down." Not wanting tragedy to unfold, Atai emerged to stop her. In their struggle, the lighter dropped, igniting the gasoline spilled on the floor. The fire spread rapidly. They fought violently and tumbled down the stairs. Atai's leg broke on impact. In agony, he crawled to the fridge to inject insulin. Meanwhile, Sannin disappeared from view. As Atai neared the door, he stumbled across the lifeless body of the housemaid. Suddenly, Sannin appeared and blocked his path. Despite his broken leg, Atai had regained enough strength to overpower her, but his lingering feelings held him back. Sannin didn't hesitate. She seized the chance to attack, pinning him down and attempting to strangle him, just as she had done to her sister. As Atai's consciousness faded, the blood-streaked face of Molly flashed before his eyes. That vision stunned Sannin. Terrified, she let go and fled. Atai realized. He toppled a nearby cabinet over her, trapping her inside, then crawled out of the house. By now, flames had engulfed the entire home. Sannin, trapped, struggled to escape. But suddenly, Malay's spirit appeared, pinning her down, as if fulfilling an old promise: no matter what happens, we will never be apart. Amid Sannin's blood-curdling screams, the fire consumed the cabinet, and the two sisters' souls. The story ends with a chilling message: the scariest thing isn't ghosts, it's the darkness within the human heart. Thai horror films often delve deep into the themes of karma and the cycle of cause and effect, and this film is no exception. While it may not excel in visual effects or horror atmosphere, it stands out as a socially reflective and emotionally layered drama. If you enjoyed this story, leave a comment with 1111. See you in the next video.